Carmel Catholic. It's a special start to CDN News Now.
Good morning.
We're going to do a little
Morning.
Carmel today. We have Mr. Potasic, Father Christian. We're going to do a little deep dive on the new Pope.
Yeah, it's great to be with you, and Mr. Potasic, thank you for joining us on the show.
My pleasure.
He's our school church historian.
There you go.
We look forward to your expertise.
Very good.
And such an exciting time. I'm still processing the good news of having first our new Holy Father as Bishop Larry Sullivan, who is, some of you may know him, he may have recently confirmed to you or some of your family members. Bishop Larry Sullivan is the Vicar General of the Archdiocese of Chicago, but he recently said that, more importantly is the fact that we have a new shepherd. And we're so proud that he's a Chicagoan. And first Pope from the United States of America. But even more important than that, Bishop Sullivan said, is that we have Peter. We now have a successor to Peter for the church.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. And it's remarkable with this Pope. I was thinking when I was waiting to hear his name revealed, and it was revealed as Leo. That's a very telling name. He's joining a long line. He's 14, right? But there are 13 other Leos, going back to Leo the Great, saved Rome from Attila the Hun. A famous devotee of St. Augustine, Pope Leo XIV, is himself the very first Augustinian Pope we've ever had. He's a part of a religious community. Yeah.
Let's maybe dive into that a little bit.
Yeah.
What kind of charisms do the Augustinians have?
Sure.
That might be different from the BVMs and the Carmelites.
Sure.
One thing that comes to mind would be the emphasis on unity and communion.
Right.
So unity and communion is an important charism to the Augustinians,
right,
as well as the pursuit of truth and the gospel.
The truth, also contemplative lifestyles. The focus on prayer is really important for the Augustinian lifestyle as well. It's an ancient order. It goes back to St. Augustine himself. It was revived in the medieval world as a mendicant order, and a lot of communities, a lot of local Chicago communities, like the Canons of St. John Cantius, use the rule of St. Augustine as their model. It becomes this idea of prayer and service, and just this lifestyle centered around our faith. It's a really beautiful order in a community. It's an ancient order in a community that he's a part of.
Well, and going back to unity, what was the phrase that Leo XIV said?
And
I think you said it on the prayer that day.
It's in one.
In fact, I'm drawn to his Episcopal motto, and that was it. And just like our beloved Pope Francis, who paid homage to his religious order, the Jesuits, on his coat of arms, Pope Leo has kept his Episcopal coat of arms when he was a bishop and cardinal, and you see that heart with an arrow piercing through the heart. So certainly, Mr. Potasic, tribute to the Augustinians.
The Augustinians, that heart is restless until it rests in God.
Amen.
Yeah.
Preach. Wow. And his motto itself, though, Mr. Franklin, is in illo uno unum. So Latin for in the one Christ we are one. So speaking to unity and the importance of communion.
And so let's maybe go back in time and talk about some other Leos. We can get to Leo the 13th in a minute, but then Mr. Potasic, you were talking about
Pope Leo the Great, Charlemagne, Pope Leo III. In the 800s, Christmas Day, he crowned Charlemagne. A restoration of order in Europe after the fall of the empire. You fast forward through some other Leos in the early medieval period who were great reformers, part of the Gregorian reform, doing a lot of work to bring the church to holiness at a time when corruption and buying and selling of church offices. My church history students would know all this, but it's a long line of Leos who serve as reform popes who pull people together, pull Europe together throughout history. And most recently, the latest pope that we've had that took the name Leo was Leo XIII at the turn of the 20th century, 1900. Industrial Revolution. And stands out, he wrote the document Rerum Novarum, of new things. And that was a great time of change, not only in Europe, but in the United States, and started a whole social justice tradition of the church.
Yeah. And I think Pope Leo XIV is maybe kind of seen as a figure that might pull the American Catholic Church together.
The term I've heard tossed around a lot is bridge. He's a bridge builder. That's actually what the word pontifex means. We often refer to the Pope as the pontiff. The word pontifex means bridge builder. It's a Latin term that means to build bridges. It's actually the Pope's Twitter, or whatever you call Twitter now, X handle is @pontifex.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think, especially like right now, it feels like there's a lot of, I mean, the world is in a turbulent time, especially there's a lot of things going on in terms of like economics, in terms of social justice.
Yep.
We've seen that in the last 5 years in the United States for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
What what does this say to the world?
Yeah, and I think
pulling an American pope in.
Yeah.
I'll use our very own Cardinal Cupich's words too. You know, Cardinal Cupich was on Face the Nation recently too, a couple days ago before he returned to Chicago, and he shared too. Well, first Cardinal Cupich said, "Let's give the Pope some time."
Yeah.
Let's give him some time. But really, he is somebody who wants to dialogue with people. And the Cardinal said he wants to continue, of course, Pope Francis's great legacy as well of making sure we are the church in the modern world. And that's important, being able to dialogue with others, bring people together, but also to continue with social justice, Catholic social teaching, as well as helping to bring that renewal universally through those charisms that the Augustinians share.
You know, and speaking about the bridge builder and social justice, you know, it's important, you know, we talk about American politics, and it can be very polarizing with the liberal, conservative. You know, the thing about social justice, the beautiful thing about Catholic social teaching is it doesn't fit nicely into either paradigm, the liberal or the conservative side. Catholic social teaching really is this universal call to justice, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. And so as a American Pope who's really diving into the social justice ethos of Pope Leo XIII, that may serve itself as a bridge of bringing this polarized American culture that we have more closer together.
Sure. And as well, too, as the Pope said to the Cardinals a few days ago in a beautiful address, he said to the Cardinals, we need to completely commit ourselves to the vision of Vatican II, that we make sure, first and foremost, then, that the proclamation of Christ takes primacy in our preaching and our witness, as well as, of course, dialoguing with leaders across the world, and making sure that we care for the weak and the marginalized and the poor. Right. So all that the council, the ecumenical council, reminded us to do as well.
And Pope Leo, as a bishop in Peru, kind of led that lifestyle, right? I mean, he's lived it.
A true missionary, a true man who committed his life. Born in Chicago, grew up in Dolton, but right as a freshman, he knew he wanted an Augustinian kind of lifestyle. So he goes to minor seminary in Michigan before heading down to Peru. It's quite remarkable.
Well, Villanova is the only Augustinian college in the United States.
And a White Sox fan.
I
am a White Sox fan, so I have to mention.
He's also a Chicago Bears fan.
Okay.
Yeah. So as we transition to today, though, today we have the May crowning, and during his
Logia address, he
Hail
right
Mary.
off the bat, he ended with the Hail Mary, which was beautiful. But he also had words about our Blessed Mother and the importance of making sure that we entrust everything to her, because she intercedes for us as our mother, and she leads us to Christ, points us to Christ.
It's
today,
also
we're doing our May crowning.
Indeed, and it's beautiful too that it's the feast of Our Lady of Fatima. It's the 108th anniversary of the Miracle of the Sun that happened in Portugal back in 1917. So it's kind of a remarkable day. We have a new pope, we have the feast of Our Lady of Fatima, we have the Miracle of the Sun anniversary, and we have a school mass.
That's amazing.
Yes, it's awesome.
So
looking forward to it.
I think we'll wrap up on that point.
Yeah.
But thank you for joining us, Mr. Potasic.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Mr. Potasic.
Father Christian, again, always a pleasure.
Likewise, pleasure's mine, Mr. Franklin.
CDN News.
Take care,
we will be back tomorrow with the regular show.
Welcome back. I'm Gabby Malley with announcements. All Carmel students and their mothers are welcome to Mother's Day Mass after school in the St. Titus Brandsma Chapel. The event is hosted by Nuestra Voz and Mission and Ministry and will take place at 3:30 p.m. To bring more calm to the Carmel environment, Canines for Comfort will be back tomorrow. Remember that you can only go and see them during your lunch wave and not during class. Spring sports athletes must make sure they have an updated physical form on file. The form can be found in the newsletter. Injured athletes must obtain a doctor's note citing the injury, days missed to be excused, and any restrictions they may have. Once you have received a note, please reach out to the school nurse to discuss a return plan. Contact info for the nurse can be found in the newsletter. Lastly, any athlete who has a suspected or confirmed concussion must review the concussion protocol, also found in the newsletter. I'm Gabby Malley. That's all we have for announcements. CDN News will be right back.